biodiversity net gain in the borough. It allows us to influence and make better management plans, and also to bring investment in. It will help us to provide the evidence to support funding bids, not necessarily just for nature conservation ones, but adding that actual nature recovery element to other projects, other funding bids, which may not have otherwise been able to consider that without the evidence. And again, it's multifunctionality bringing that in. And again, there's multiple benefits and integration of nature recovery, which is so key. It'll also bring the partnership and stakeholder opportunities together with associated timelines. Quite often we have a misalignment of different organisations, different agencies with their timelines for investment. So we can hopefully start to bring investment planning more into line with each other so that we can jointly plan projects and reap the benefits of more blended and integrated and therefore better supported finance. And it supports innovations and new ideas and approaches. That could be how we work together, how we work with communities, how we manage things, how we embed nature into things which it isn't traditionally embedded in. Next slide, please, Krista.
Thanks, Fran. I think that's it. Actually.
Is that it? I think it's a thank you slide, and it's not there. So yes, so that's me.
That's brilliant, and thanks very much for that. And I really like that kind of last kind of reference to the work that you're doing on your own local nature recovery action plan, but also how that links in with your biodiversity reporting duties. And I think obviously the toolkit can really help in terms of a lot of this stuff around kind of getting local authorities kind of prepared in terms of whether that's local nature recovery strategies or their biodiversity reporting duties. Yeah. So there was a couple of questions that and kind of discussion points that came up at the roadshow event. So I'm just going to cover a couple of those. So the first one's about the kind of climate portfolio and the existing work that you're doing on climate, and obviously nature and climate are intrinsically kind of linked there. And I'm just wondering how have you learned, what can be learned from the climate discussions and the work that's been done around the climate portfolio?
Okay, well, probably two things, main things. I mean, one is nature recovery is such a key part of the natural environment is such a key part of the opportunity to deliver the climate resilience agenda. How we sort of respond to urban cooling, how we respond to being more energy efficient, how we respond to having more livable spaces and places, healthier opportunities to enjoy the local environment without the need to travel, blah blah blah. There's a whole range of things there which the natural environment is key to, and increasingly when we look at things like green suds, etc., then that again just brings it right to the doorstep for many people. So a rain garden is a garden that does several things. It provides amenity, it helps urban drainage, and it provides an opportunity to experience wildlife and actually do it yourself, to look after wildlife yourself. So it can be a very personal thing, and it can be delivered, enjoyed, experienced by people, and therefore it's very inclusive. And that's a key thing about the climate agenda. It's inclusivity. It's that there are global actions, but what we're talking about are local actions where actually everyone can get involved, that can see the benefits and they can help the benefits to be achieved. And I think that's the thing which we are really getting from the climate discussions, is that people want to be involved, want to do their bit. And if it's something that they can be embedding as part of their business as usual, their everyday life, then all the better, because it just means that that's going to be much more rewarding and much more beneficial to both them and their local community.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there's a key point there about, how do you help them understand how it's relevant to them and how it can help, kind of address their priorities
exactly
as well.
That, yeah.
So the second one I've got is just following on actually around that kind of biodiversity reporting duties. And I think at the roadshow event kind of discussed briefly about the sustainability report that Rochdale are kind of preparing at the moment. So I'm just, wondering whether you could just kind of elaborate on that, please.
Okay, well, that's a work in progress. So what we're doing is we're looking at each service within the authority and doing almost like a biodiversity audit scoping exercise or audit, just to understand what the business as usual is now and how business as usual going forward could integrate or incorporate nature recovery as part and parcel of that. And again, as I alluded to in the presentation, that's a combination of what you actually directly deliver yourself as a, whether it's how you manage land or buildings. It could be everything from planting or mowing regimes or just different planting mixes, something on a very small scale, introduction of rain gardens, whatever it might be. It could be something much more substantial, which is linked to much bigger land holdings around energy. So how, for example, you might have solar farms and how you can embed in biodiversity around that. Again, there are many other examples, but I'm just giving one there, which is a fairly obvious one. How we manage parks and gardens and other areas of land, how we work with allotment tenants to create more biodiverse opportunities in and around that kind of managed environment. And then there's the how we influence others, how we're an advocate or how we're a facilitator. The council's expertise, the council's reach in terms of its powers and duties, the council's reach in terms of communities that it wouldn't normally get engaged in these things, whether it's due to health or ethnicity or whatever. There's a whole range of reasons why communities can be harder to reach, and how we can maybe use that to be an advocate and a facilitator to get more elements of the community involved, and how we work with businesses. Again, local authorities are the first port of call with businesses. So again, it's that advocacy and facilitation which is very key, and not necessarily just looking inwards at the assets we manage, but how we can actually influence the wider assets in the borough. So there's that. And then again, the other tool that we're using, I think again I mentioned it at the conference, was at the workshop, sorry, was that we're actually using a system now where on each of the committee reports that goes through the system, there has to be a very simple, but nonetheless a sustainability appraisal, effectively, where you're looking at the opportunities to, what the impact of the report that you're writing has on the environment, whether that's the natural environment or energy or other things. But within that, clearly, it's an opportunity for us to just again get people thinking when they're doing something of what's the impact of this, or what could I do something a little bit better, a little bit different. So again, it's using tools. There's e-learning and other things as well, which are being used, across the climate agenda, which again embeds the natural world in that. We're doing additional e-learning around flooding, and nature-based solutions will be part of that. So there's a whole range of things which will come in, and it's an ongoing process, therefore. So the first iteration of our biodiversity duty will be influenced by the scoping, and we'll strengthen that as we go along with some of these other measures and activities.
Brilliant. That's fantastic, Fran. I'm really excited. Yeah, and be great to hear more about that as it evolves. I think the last thing I was just going to ask you is just about that kind of sphere of influence. And you mentioned stakeholders, agencies, and different kind of timelines there. I'm just wondering, kind of in terms of your activities so far, who are the kind of key stakeholders that you've been working with that are kind of really helping to deliver your ambitions?
Okay, well, I mean, to some extent, it's the usual suspects. We have the various agencies such as the Environment Agency, Forestry Commission, etc., who have been, very key to some areas of our work, and then working, more locally at delivery level with City of Trees to help deliver our Pennine Edge Forest and sort of work around trees for climate and what have you. But I think increasingly what we're looking at is because the policy climate is changing. So we're looking at really more and more about what businesses, what developers, what landowners and residents can do.
Yeah.
And I think that's the area to focus to some degree, more and more, because BNG, Green Suds, nature-based solutions, etc., they do provide that opportunity for scalable activities. So, the bigger things through development, all the way down to much smaller developments and more, more localized benefits that they can provide. How businesses can do everything from, corporate social responsibility days all the way through to how they manage their lorry park or whatever it might be that maybe could provide some green opportunities. Again, it could be linked to other objectives around flooding and things like that. But again, I think we know who the usual suspects are, but going forward, it's people who own land or who own property or who live in property who are increasingly going to be the ones where we can go the extra mile. And so that's where our focus is going to be, how we can actually working with those agencies, because we have shared agendas, we have opportunities to direct our investments in different ways or to attract funding and investment in different ways, and engage in different ways. But that's got to be our target. And I think increasingly with BNG and things, we're seeing that is going to be a real focus for, for some significant step change.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, there's some really exciting projects going on in Oldham, and it's a great opportunity at the moment to kind of in terms of seeing how those evolve and particularly kind of looking at those multiple benefits, as you say, that actually, these kind of projects can provide, not only in terms of, whether that's businesses, residents, etc., but in terms of wider benefits, whether that's flooding, health and well-being. Kind of it's providing that whole kind of sense of ecosystem services that I think is much needed. So really exciting times, Fran, and lots of really great work going on in Rochdale. So I'd just like to thank you for your time today and at the event. Really much appreciated in terms of just sharing some of your experiences around nature recovery. So thank you.
You're more than welcome, Krista.
I'm going to stop recording now.